Hello and welcome back, where we are heading into game 2 for week 2 of USS here over on the B stream. And you might have seen that we've got two teams that it's going to be a very good matchup for one of them, considering that they are built to fight the other. We've got the Princess Fighters from the University of Portsmouth up against the Hallam Princesses from Sheffield.
Sorry, I think you pronounced that wrong. Do you want to go?
Hallam Pwincesses, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, no, you're right. It's a team that's already built for this very situation, looking to knock the crown right off Hallam's head. It's another Hallam game, and I don't know, I'm looking forward to this one too. It's pretty close in the seeding. Two teams who have been doing okay so far. They've kind of been winning the games they should be winning, losing the games they should be losing. As we get a look at these rosters here, and we got Otter on the tank for Hallam Princesses with Rice Grain and Gangster Garner on DPS with Excelsior and Sanapan taking the supports. And for the Princess Fighters, Enduring and Green Nat on DPS, Yikes Man is on the tank, and Honchog and Material Girl playing support. So I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, we've seen Garner play well in previous tournaments, so looking out for Gangster Garner on the DPS role for sure. Otter as well on the tank should be consistent for the Pwincesses, but this should be a fairly even matchup, at least coming in terms of the seeding. But obviously, we're not playing on paper, we are playing in the server, and we'll find out where we are playing our first map as well, as the map pick has come in. And you might be getting a little bit of a sneak peek behind us as to where we are going.
Where could this be?
Where could this be?
We see it's I believe it is. Yeah, Colosseum.
It's not. It's okay. Not.
Okay, very interesting. Right, Colosseum is the pick. I mean, it's cool. Pushes our first mode. We saw Runas happy early. We get to see Colosseum now. I'm happy.
Yeah, bit of a bait. But we love to see it. We keep each other on our toes here, and I mean, we've got our bans here as well. Sojourn being banned out, still consistent with the burst damage, so just making sure that you don't want to see that. And Zarya being banned out on the other side, obviously with Vendetta coming back into at least a place in the meta. You have that Zarya Ven synergy that can work with either of the heroes that start with Ven to be able to send them in. And maybe you just don't want to see that composition where the Vendetta is going to be on her home territory. And I mean, taking out the Zarya, that's basically like 2-3 bans in one, because you don't really often see a Venture or a Vendetta coming out on their own sans that Zarya.
I think Zarya is one of the biggest enablers in the game, and at least from the tank role. I think typically you see maybe a Lucio or a Juno as an enabler from a supportive system. Like Reinhardt benefits massively from the speed, for example. But on the tank side of things, Zarya is such an opener for different kinds of comps. So it's a reasonable ban on this map, and I think it takes away some of the options your opponents might want to go with. I think I'm excited to see what these teams run out. Sojourn is super strong, but you can play a cast and it is kind of gets a similar job done, even as the Era can do similar sorts of things with just that hit scan damage. It's definitely a powerful ban, but not one that's going to change the tide of things in the way Zarya does. And there is that Sierra from Gangster Garner with Rice Grain on the Shion, actually, which is cool to see. We got Winston, we got Cat, and we got Lucio. We got Lucio Juno on the other side, so double speed with Yikes Man on that Sigma, and the Hanzo on Enduring. I'm very excited to see if any heads can get taken off here with Green out finishing out with an Anran pick. So almost entirely different comps here.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Honchog switch off onto a Kiri out of spawn just to get the speed boost out, but staying on it for now, it is just they're going to want to play fast, but with a Sigma, and on the other side, it's a little bit more consistent as Gangster Garner switches over to the M-Ray. A lot of consistent damage coming out there as well. Rice Grain just holding the angle here after that window was taken out of contention, but not enduring in this first fight, going down early on that Hanzo with the captain watching. Fedge in the grandstands, Greeny Nat able to take through, as well as the Princess Fighters fighting back with a vengeance. They've done a lot of damage here, and they are making sure that they are making it count. It's still in the hands of the gods at the moment, as it looks like Yikes Man is just going to have to back up with the support of Honcheg just making sure that you can't do too much. Rice Grain down to literally 1 HP, but does survive in the meantime. Otter just making sure that this TS1 bot keeps rolling through, and that is going to be an advantage for the Pwincesses as dive up to the high ground from Otter once again, just to force some stuff out, but it's not really been too much of a one fight either way here at the moment. As Yikesman does take out Rice Grain, this could be something, especially if this Flux hits and it does onto Azathia, but you've been able to Suzu that out, and more damage comes through for the Hallam Princesses. They force them back once more, and Yikes indeed, went back to spawn once again.
Yeah, I think you were right on the money there for quite a while. It was a pretty even fight, no consistent win-outs, but that pick onto, I think it was the Yikesman onto Rice Grain, it enabled a little bit of space for the Princess fighters, but in the end the Princesses turned it around and he keep pushing this bot forward, looking to get onto the forward spawn, but with Yikesman putting that shield up onto the right-hand side, it forces them to back away. So much damage potential with the combination of the Hanzo, the Anran, the Juno too. It's just a lot to deal with. Otter's gone in though, inside the bubble, gets a lot of care. So Hanzo can't bring him down. Rice Grain takes out Green Nap, but Sanapen found by Yikesman in the meantime. So even the score, but this ult from Gangster Ghana finds Enduring. Looks to find a second two. Gangster Ghana goes huge here. Material Girl brought down by the Emre. And that's going to turn it once more for the Hallam Princesses. The Princess fighters can't convert any advantages here, because there's so much DPS coming through.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just too overwhelming, that override protocol from Gangster Ghana. You can see how much Yikesman is trying to do with the fact that there's almost a second Flux online, but 3 ults on the other side. Yes, they have lost Ghana to a log launch from Enduring, and they're just going to back up here, and I like this play from the Princesses. They've gotten enough from what they've done. Yes, they have got the forward spawn as well, so they're in a good shape for the rest of this map. A lot of ults coming back on the other side, pretty much 5 up for the fighters as they look to come forwards, but it is going to be the first ult coming through on the other side as Althea going with that Kitsune rush. Now forced into that Primal Rage as well is Otter. Flux misses from Yikesman, and it looks like the kills are coming in once more for the Princesses. Greeny Nat able to take down one with a Fire Dance onto Rice Grain, but immediately traded out by Otter. And once more, they're just staying in these fights a lot longer, are the Princesses. They're able to stay alive, able to make it through. And really, there's not too much that Yikesman can do, even with the amount of damage that the Sigma's been able to pump out.
Yeah, there's so much sustain from the Princesses here, and that's without even that major perk for Otto. Once they get that online as well, there's a little bit extra healing too, but the Winston is just not dying, and it allows so much space for Gangster Ghana's Emre, who's been hitting a lot of shots. Rice Grain has that spree available as well, so we talk about high damage, we talk about that ultimate right there. I think Princess Fighters are close to this one, but they can't quite grab it through yet because they aren't able to close out on those. They might get one, but then they get traded out. They can't quite get 2 uncontested here. We see Green Nat going to the back line, but here comes that spree. Finds 1, but Yikesman finds 2. It's traded equally. That's a 3-piece of the Sigma, though. Looking really nice on this tank. Going to finally probably win out a fight here. Emre's escaping. Rice Grain is taking down Material Girl on the back line. The Shion now headshot by Enduring, and that's going to be surely the fight won for the Princess Fighters.
Yikesman has another Flux. This guy is doing absurd amounts on this Sigma, but it's not being won out in team wins. And I mean, it's a lovely accretion there, but Greeny Nat's gone in very far, uses the Fire Dance, tries to stay alive. Huge Flux now comes out, and you've been able to kill before the beat comes through. Means the Material can get a better one coming through as well, and it looks like the Princesses are on the back foot for the first time in a while. They are forced to run, forced to go back to spawn, and you will absolutely love that if you are sitting in the captain's chair.
Yeah, there's a mistake there from both the Lucio and the Kiriko as the Suzu comes out too early and the beat comes out too late. It leads to the death of Gangster Ghana and so much damage that beat, I think, was wiped out almost immediately. Here comes Rice Grain with a lovely bike, though. Connects onto 3. Huge damage out. And Enduring has that Deadeye, so good zoning tool here. But here comes that Override Protocol once more onto the Deadeye of Enduring, who pops it and dives to Otter. That's unfortunate as Rice Grain gets the execution onto 1, Gangster Ghana finds another onto Yikesman, and Hallam Princesses first time on the back foot, and they immediately press the forward pedal, go forwards, take out 2, take out 3, take out 4, take out 5 nearly. If Material Girl can escape, yeah, that's nice at least for the Lucio not to get staggered, but a really clean fight for the Princesses.
Yeah, one for one ults wise, and being able to take out that real threat to your Override Protocol with the damage that you've got from it. by yourself, also being able to put pressure in there as well is perfect. And you look at the ults coming into this next fight, pushing forwards again, the TS1 bot almost back to their own barrier as, I mean, Ricegrain's trying to find some damage here. Yikesman's been able to get in behind them, and once again, this Sigma's finding kills, but the rest of the team falls around him. Once more, you can see how low Greeny Nat's gone. That Primal Rage being able to take him down, and now it looks like Honchog is the next target. Sniper Monkey, can you find the kill? Gangster Garner's gonna do it without you. Yikesman still trying to go through the rest of the team here, but I mean, doing absolutely everything. Hits also with a Flux as well. This is going to kill the Winston. This man is doing absolutely everything possible. Takes out Gangster Garner as well. How have you done this, Yikesman? That's 6 kills in one fight to somehow bring yourself back into the line, but they're still behind by about 50 meters. You need more, but there's not more to give.
It's so confusing to me because I feel like Yikesman's positioning is a little bit leaving his team vulnerable, but then he gets 6 kills and here comes so many ults invested. But Yikesman finds the first once more. That Sigma takes it ahead. I believe we're a little bit out of sync, unfortunately, but here comes Material Go with the boop on the Ricegrain too. So there's 2 for the Princess fighters as they look to fight back. The follow-up as well. They're going to convert as, I think it was, the rush on the side of the Princess is the only one they used as the 2 support ults come from the fighters to turn it around. The Green Nat had to invest the Anra ult too to confirm it, but that is going to get them hopefully to forward spawn. If you're Princess fighters, they are going to connect onto that one. No auto contests, and now we have the Shan. Ricegrain ultimate to invest 2. Spree can come out with the execution, whiffs that shot, unfortunately, but Suzu keeps them alive. They still have the option to do so. The bike can do huge damage here onto Enduring. There it is, the Spree follow-ups, but behind the wall is the Cassidy. Gangster Garner's found Holshog in the meantime, but yeah, there's onto Cassidy in the end. Enduring goes down, and Zelsia finds Green out too. Sanapan the only one to fall on the other side, and the Emre's going to beam some shots out. Yikesman still alive here, finally goes down to the Shion of Ricegrain, and Material Girl dead too. So Hallam Pwincesses fight back, prevent that forward spawn from being capped as well.
It's the same old story once again. I believe they did get forward spawn in the midst of all that, so they've been able to unlock that at least, but that's going to be taken away from them. And Enduring just peeking in front of the rest of the team. Gangster Garner gets the clean headshots through and is able to take him down. And it's so difficult to get into a good situation again. Yikesman just about surviving, able to hit the Flux, but it's cancelled out by the beat from Sanapen. And now Otter just getting too aggressive for this team going into the spawn. Enduring falling again. And Otter says, you know, we've had a lot from the other side. We've had a lot of talk about the other tank. Maybe I want to get involved as well. Taking out 4 in quick succession. And a big stagger onto Greeny Nat as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot good from Princess fighters here, but it's not quite enough when the Princesses are playing a little bit more with each other. Their sustain is working better together. I think the most care we've seen is when there's only a few players left for the Princess fighters, as Enduring is the first to fall once more, but Material Go takes down the opposing Kiriko, so I'd say it's advantage Princess fighters with the spawn as well. But Otter's still pushing forward. Material Go finds a second. That's huge from the Kiriko. Gets traded out in the end by Gangster Garner, has the override protocol as well. Sanapen takes down Green out, the Anran falling to the Lucio. It's unfortunate, but Yikesman's good to get one, always. Looking for a follow-up onto Otter too. So Winston's jumping back into the fight, now alone here, has some sustain with that bubble, but punched out of it, loses a lot of healing. Can escape though, not quite found by the Cassidy shots of Enduring and Yikesman's Sigma balls too. But yeah, it's a 1-out fight, but it's not super convincing for Princess fighters.
Like the banners, Yikesman is standing as the last bastion of the Princess fighters in every single one of these fights, and somehow manages to turn that into a fight win. They don't have too much coming into this. Yes, you're going to be able to invest this Kitsune rush, but you want to try and hold on to it as long as possible, or just invest it to try and win here. Gangster Garner's going to be able to zone them away from this as well with that override protocol. Also going down low and doesn't get out that Primal Rage, so it looks like it's going to be a 1 fight, but not if the DPS have anything to say about it. Ricegrain getting aggressive on the Shion, and no one's there to touch! You get aggressive from Yikesman. 14,000 damage. It's so much, and you can see the kill lead that he has on every single other person on his team. But it doesn't matter if you're not touching the objective at the end of the day. You're trying to get aggressive on the Sig, and it's potentially one of the most aggressive Sigmas that I've ever seen in the history of USS. It worked out, but not to the effect that they were able to take a win from it. The consistency of the rest of the team being brought down for the Princess fighters, as they could not stand up against the might of the Pwincesses, being able to take that first map just off the back of the consistency from the rest of the team.
I'd even potentially argue against the Sigma working there. On an individual basis, the stats look great, but consistently finding himself alone in fights meant his team was vulnerable to a lot of damage without the main frontliner. I thought there was a great shield actually I saw from him blocking out the overall protocol. It forced the Emery to shoot under it after missing a couple bullets, shooting some of those into that barrier. So when he was playing with the team, he was doing a good job of blocking that with that big mitigation. But we saw there in the overtime tick pushing forwards out of position, arguably as the overtime wick burns down and not contesting. It's uncomfortable for the rest of his team. He's doing great on an individual level, and I don't know where the blame lies, if it needs to be more from the supports to care for themselves alongside the DPS. But enduring, I think, 11 deaths on that Cassidy, tough a couple times, a little bit of overextending, but I think just getting dove on by Otter's Winston, and without the rock from your own Sigma, or potentially just a little bit of extra chip damage onto the Winston, who found himself down to 100 health a few times, 200 health, getting a bit more care. That extra damage could have been the turner. It's hard to say what the right play would have been. Was it just better by Pwincesses, or was the Sigma playing a little bit too individually?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's what the fighters wanted to go for, right? They want that aggressive Sig. You've got both supports on movement ability characters, so you can really send them in if you want to. And that's exactly what they did after a lot of time. But I think it's just good work from the Princesses, realizing that, once you've invested that speed, you have no way of getting away from them, and they just dive onto an exposed backline off the back of it. Yes, you've got kills coming out the other way from the fact that the Sigma is able to hunt you down with the amount of speed that is being given by the supports, but it feels like it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The fight planning is clear from both sides. The fight planning is clear that you want to send in your Sigma to do a massive amount of damage and be able to take out the kills, but they're not coming in quick enough to be able to justify that. And there's not really that many targets when you've got a Xion going into the backline, when you've got the pressure of the Anran as well. On the other side, not being able to do quite as much. It's just an overwhelming amount of pressure onto the backline from the Princesses that was winning them out late fight. Even when you had that Sig up on the other side, it felt like they were dealing with everything else and then just coming back to deal with the Sig after the Sig had dealt with a couple. You do not need to keep all of your players alive to win a team fight. Yes, it does help. And yes, it means that you don't have to wait for your team to come back from spawn, which can be a real issue on a push map like Colosseo. But I think the fact that they were just taking what was given to them, and instead of trying to play to the tempo of the Princesses, or the Princess Fighters, sorry, you had the situation where they were just going, well, if you're going to do that, we're just going to circumvent the Sigma, take out the rest of the team, and then we'll deal with him later when he's only on his own and he doesn't have that support from the Lucio and from the Juno to be able to deal with the lack of mobility that the character has.
Yeah, I think that's pretty on the money, actually. I think you're right to call out the game planning from both teams here. Princess Fighters, I think that was what they wanted to do. I think with that double speed, it certainly sent the Sigma to be that raid boss, and I mean, he certainly was, but perhaps we're seeing a little bit of the cracks of why that isn't a pretty consistent comp, or a comp you'll see at a high level, is because you're having to compensate a lot. By giving that Sigma double speed so he can move around and be that raid boss, you have to compensate and lose a lot of utility on your backline to cover for the potential dive of a Winston, and I think Princess has identified that. Wow, Princesses identified that really well and did that counter dive really nicely. And also a few other times they didn't overextend. That was how they ticked over those team fights when they were losing one or two and drawing them out. It was, I think they got forward spawn once, and you noted it during the broadcast that they backed away, and I think it's because they were down one potentially, and they just let the fight come to them without losing forward. They took the fight back towards the center of the map so they could keep their forward spawn held while also staying alive in the team fight. And I think they were just rotating really nicely and sticking together in groups well enough. There was fewer overextensions from the Winston. I think like putting out a lot of damage pressure but keeping himself in a spot where he can stay alive was really nice work. And I think both teams played well. I think Princess Fighters showed a lot, especially with that Sigma, but you're just playing a punishable comp and it's getting punished by a really strong team.
Yeah, I think what you said about the raid boss being there for Yikes Man is exactly what it is. That feels like I feel like I'm watching a WoW raid right now. You've got the raid boss, you've got the big high health bar that's going sort of 3 times around the screen. It's wrapping around the center of the earth. It's going that far, and you've got him being there, but you've also got the ads. And what do you do in a raid most of the time? You deal with the ads first, because then you can do the damage to the main boss. And it feels like the princesses are coming in as that 5 stack coming into the raid, being able to take out the ads, identifying that that's going to be the thing that causes them the least issues. And without the help of the rest of the team, you've then got, what have you got? You've got nothing on the Sigma. Yeah, you've got a shield. Doesn't help much against a Winston. Yeah, you've got a rock. You'll be able to slow one of them down. There's 4 more other people there that are able to do a lot of damage to you. And even if you take it out a couple, there's, 2, 3 still that can approach you at different angles, make sure that the hands, the kinetic grasp doesn't really do as much as you would expect it to in that situation. Everything gets cleaved out by the Winston, so it still causes you issues. But, I mean, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if the fighters are able to adapt into the second map. And I think really, I like that they're playing into the SIG, but the reason that SIG is being played so often at the moment is because you're playing in those slower compositions. That's sort of pseudo brawl pokey matchup with that Mitsuki being able to take away the speed from the other side. And I would have loved to see, instead of that Lucio, going over to the Mitsuki and being able to take the speed away from players like Otter, players like the Shion going into the backline, and Gangsta Ghana just providing consistent damage as well. It feels like that should be where you're focusing, is to slow down the other team, instead of trying to speed up a comp that really isn't built to be a speed comp.
Yeah, I think you're right again with that. I think I was also going to call out Gangsta Ghana as well as a little bit of praise for the Emre, who is just pumping out so much consistent damage and making it so difficult for the Princess fighters to find those angles. Juno especially, can be a tough target once you're around that corner to get back out of the line of sight of someone with that high burst, as we do get to see towards our map selection, I believe. And having a look at it, it will be Rialto. I like this pick. I think it's cool. I think if you're trying to run a Sigma comp, then it can definitely suit that. But as we head towards the bans as well, we might see a little surprise from the Hallam Princesses as they actually take out that Sigma, and the Princess Fighters take out the Emre as well. I think these are 2 very good bans from both teams. I think for the Hallam Princesses, Raid Boss down, right? For Princess Fighters, Gangsta Ghana doing so much damage on the Emre, getting rid of him on that character. I think it makes sense.
The thing is, I feel like if you're going into Rialto as a team that's just had a 23 and what was it, like 8 SIG, whereas the rest of their team barely got above double digits, if that, you've got to protect ban the SIG. I feel like you can't let that ban come through on the other side, but they have decided to let it through. The captain's in, Fedge taking the spot of the support, as we'll see what goes on the other side, as both team comps are going to be visible now. But I'd love to see you take away, I mean, the Diva possibly. Fedge coming in to play that Mitsuki is going to help make sure that the pressure from Rice Grain and Otter isn't going to be quite as high as it was previously. But you look at the Princess Fighters, they're playing the Domina. It's going to be fairly similar. You've still got the speed for Honchog, but again, I worry about the rest of this backline. You've got to rely on Fedge hitting these chains, and if it doesn't go right, then it feels like you're going to be fed to the Otter meat grinder once again.
Yeah, I think thematically, Domino is a very similar character to Sigma in the style of play. It's that slow tank who can do piles and piles of damage, can get a little bit of CC in your face as well, has a big shield, a bit less mobile with that shield, of course, but much bigger. And I think it makes sense to switch over to that one when the Sigma's banned out, but not protect banning it is a risky call. I was perhaps thinking they ban out a Winston, but I mean, the Diva's always a great selection for Otter anyway. Gangsta Ghana's a little bit hubristical with his positioning here, but Rice Grain coming on the flank onto the Juno. It's Honchog taking a lot of high damage. Can there be the care from Fedge in the backline? Absolutely there can. No, actually Gangsta Ghana's shot comes through, but traded out with Enduring onto Rice Grain, so it's advantage Princess Fighters due to the spawn positioning. X-Man goes for that grenade shot onto the Diva, but the push misses as well. Fedge though finds Gangsta Ghana, traded out by Sanapen, so Mizuki on Mizuki damage gives Hallam Princesses an enabler to stay in this fight, as Otter's got so much health sitting on this cart.
Yeah, they have been able to target the supports of the Princesses, as they're just going to sit on the high ground now and make sure that not too much damage comes through, just holding the angle. And now Rice
Mm.
Grain's immediately in there to take out Key. As soon as you see that Shion isolated, now you can go for the cast as well. Not able to hit with a dance, but doesn't matter at the end of the day. The arm run able to punish the positioning of the DPS players. And that means that the damage is not going to be there to deal with the rest of the team. Saying that, Otter has gone down, has gone out of
Ooh,
mech,
wow.
and Rice Grain's fallen as well. Gangster Ghana covering for the rest of the team. Enduring switching over to mirror this as well. So, I mean, you're still having to back up here, but it's not really done too much to you. Yikesman does have that Panopticon to invest here as well, as Gangster Ghana is going to be looking to do a lot of damage from the high ground, barely missed by the vehicle going up onto the high ground and able to take out Enduring with that grenade. Now the Panopticon invested, but you're losing players left, right, and center. Yes, you found Sunapen, but where's the rest of the team going to come from? You've not got anyone on the cart besides Yikesman who wants to progress forwards but can't, because you need to be a stalwart on the cart, able to take down Alzea, but loses Fedge in the meantime. And now, once the rest of the team is done for, once again, we can see the collapse is perfect. And they are sent back to spawn once again. It feels like the same script, just with slightly different actors going through on Rialto.
I think you really have to question the positioning of the DPS here. Key gets caught out initially by the Anran of Rice Grain, and then Enduring just goes to the same spot and dies in like the same way with the Diva on top. And then in this fight as well, once more on the high ground, the DPS gets caught out, and maybe there's a lack of care from the supports, but maybe it's an overextension of positioning. I like this from Yikesman pushing through to the low ground, but takes so much damage early doors. Able to push forward through, but Otter has the bomb available, and Sanapen's found Key early on anyway. They are pushing the cart. It has to be competitors as the rush comes through. And they're going to win this one out as surely as well, because Ghana has grabbed us first. Otter's grabbed Enduring as well. And it's a lot of ults invested, but they have won out that fight.
I feel like we didn't need the Mitsuki
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
ultimate there. The Sanctuary feels like it's too much. Yeah, you won the fight, but you've invested Clock, you've invested Kitsune Rush. That should be enough to win you a team fight on its own. The bomb's
I think it was
gone
reactive.
as well.
I think it was reactive based on the Juno ult, and then, but I think the Juno ult didn't actually offer as much as the Princess Fighters hoped it would.
Well, they're down like 3 when it goes out in the first place. It feels like, you know, it's a bad investment, traded for a bad investment. Key finally being able to open up the scoring here on this next fight, and Ponchog able to double down. So this should be exactly what they've been looking for the Princess Fighters to get through this choke point. Otter is going to find a bath in that mech as well, taken down halfway over the river. And finally, with 18 seconds left, turns into 245 as Fighters just about able to make it across the finish line to start off with. The motorbike sent through after crossing, and the rest of the team staging to find this second objective, maybe a little bit easier than the first.
I adore the way they took that fight. I think that was so well played from the Princess Fighters as we get into this next team engagement. The Shion Spree is available, but that defense matrix can be so punishing against that. Here comes the Panopticon though, as I actually get seen. They get seen by that defense matrix as I called it out. Otter with a great play there to take away the opposing tank ultimate. Rice Grain has now not available as well, can get some huge damage or even a res if needed. The Sanctuary is fascinatingly paced as the Anron's going to go right into the center of it. Do huge damage as Endurance taking out Rice Grain though, punished for a questionable ultimate, you have to say. And low HP as the Sojourn on the other side against Ghana has to back around this angle. Key is getting a bit ahead of himself, but that big shot from the Domino is nice. So Bomb comes through looking for a pick, but not going to find anything, and not needed for a remake either. So one small questionable ult usage from the Princesses as they seem to be a little bit flustered here.
Well, this is also the issue that you have coming through from the investment of the ults on the previous fight. The fact that you invested 4 means you've got nothing really to try and stop this. Sunapen does have that Mitsuki ult to come back in here and try and contest, immediately invested as well, but it feels like it could be too little too late. There's nothing on the other side to deal with this, but I mean, you're trying here. Key's gone down. You've really got to try and press the advantage as much as possible if you are the Princesses to try and get back into a situation where you can hold Enduring, trying to duel Gangster Ghana, but the overclock is there and they C9. Okay.
Yeah, they capped it early on in that fight.
Yeah, it feels like it's a weird situation now here.
It was a good Mitsuki ult, but they played too far away from it eventually as they looked to kill Key's Shion, and I think they found the kill, but they let them cap, and that's really disappointed from the Princesses, who looked so good earlier on in this series, and map 1 and earlier on in this map too. But here they've really been struggling. Gangster Ghana hit some nice shots, but not got the damage to get through, as Otter's been demeched once more. Now Gangster Ghana's solo, and that's a good find by Honchog, as Fedge has grabbed Sanapen too. Key with the Challenge Jewel. Yikesman takes down Otter, and it's a team kill for the Princess Fighters, sorry, taking out the Princesses. And this is the best they've looked all day. I think they're taking these fights so well. Yikesman is no longer that raid boss individually, now playing with the team, and those dominant barriers have provided so much sustain for his players, as it can't quite be burst through fast enough by the Hallam Princesses, who now have to invest in the Kasune Rush as Azelthia. Investing that ultimate as the bomb can come through from Otter as well, but Key and Enduring have won those fights early doors. That's 3-piece now with Fedge onto Gangster Ghana. Otter's bomb has to find something here, but absolutely nothing touched on. Now Solo is the tank. Otter's surviving, but there's the D-Mech, and that's going to be caught all the way to the end. It's a great push from the Princess Fighters.
And you can see how once they got the ball rolling, that was exactly what they needed. They capped with more time at the end of the map than they capped the first objective.
That's insane.
Which feels ridiculous. It's over a minute more. They only capped with 18 seconds left on that first objective. But second and third were so quick because of the snowball that was allowed by the investment of that 4 ults. It feels like it's such a small thing, but it really isn't coming into the grand scheme of it, because it put them on the back foot for the entirety of second. And then from third as well, they just didn't seem like they had any stopping power as soon as the Princess Fighters got rolling. Enduring feels a lot more comfortable on that Sojourn than we'd seen previously. Key as well being able to use the Shion to full advantage after really having a rough first point, being able to go into second and third and be a lot better. You are going to see Rice Grain come in on this Reaper, which is going to be sent forward by Otter on the other side, but Captain, their Captain Fedge, has come in on the Mitsuki, and we said going into this map that we wanted to see the Mitsuki over the Lucio. We've seen that exactly, and it's really been working out for them.
Yeah, that's good right there. I think it wasn't just even the 4 ultimates, it was the fact that they then felt like they needed, I mean, off the back of that 4 ult, they felt like they needed to be more heroic. And the Anran invests it into a Mizuki Sanctuary and gets blown up by that Enduring Sojourn. And then we see a questionable Diva Bomb. So now you're playing with absolutely nothing. The Reaper's going to TP forward. That bubble comes through so low, though, and Enduring blows up Rice Train. That bubble felt like it was there for a millisecond before it got deleted.
As a cosmetic bubble. It popped halfway through. It was one of those ones that you're really excited about it. It looks like a really good bubble, and then it just goes as soon as it leaves the bubble maker. And I mean, Rice Train, there's not really much you can do in that situation. You're chained up. You think the bubble's going to stop that from happening, but no. As soon as it goes down, you're hit by the chain from Fedge, and nothing else that you can do. Now trying to reinvest here is the fact that you've got your Reaper back, and trying to do a lot of damage onto Yikesman is an absolute yikes. 100 charge for the Zarya as well, and that's exactly what you get from just sending in your Reaper. They've been able to survive, but Fedge does not get the same story. Gangster Ghana peeking the angle on the left-hand side, and this is going to force so much more pressure onto the Princess Fighters. And the time pressure is going to be a lot here as well, because you know that even though you got second and third quite quickly, that first took forever to go through. Key's been able to trade out, though. And now in the 4v4, they should be getting Fedge back soon enough. The Reaper having to go away doesn't have the sightline for Otter to be able to give that bubble over either. Now back into the main fight, but taken down by Enduring, not able to get that cover from the payload. Fedge down solo, but Otter can't find the kill, and it feels like it's just getting so close to converting, and it's not quite been there for the Princesses, as the Princess Fighters living up to their name now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've got quite a good game plan here going, the Princess Fighters. It's high risk, certainly, but it's currently high reward. Every time they see a Zarya bubble, they're just so coordinated on deleting it. They exist for such a small period of time that they're getting huge value for Otter, who is constantly sitting on 100 charge, but they're managing to break through the bubbles and get huge damage through. Here comes that grab, though, and the Sanctuary is not going to prevent too much, but Enduring on the other side takes down Stanapen and takes down Rice Grain too. The Sojourn looking to make something of this.
Enduring's got 4!
Gangster Ghana. Oh my goodness, you're right about the comfort, but Otter with 100 charge versus a Domina, the raid boss from previous. Yikesman looks to keep it forward, has to fight against such high damage. Who's going to win out? Of course, it's Yikesman. The Lucio is too little too late. Sanapan comes in, but Ricegrain takes down Yikesman in the meantime. Key has returned, and Fedge is back as well. This is such a weird, drawn-out fight. Otter's respawned, so we'll get there soon, and here comes Gangster Garner's overclock, but Key with a second kill! The Shion staying alive here on the cart! Oh my goodness, Enduring has high charge on the high ground. Can they find the next pick? As the Reaper looks to TP away, Ricegrain survives, has that Death Blossom soon, can get the bubble from Otter too, but Yikesman will be back eventually. That Domina slow moving, but fast enough to touch the cart here.
What a last stand from Yikesman and Enduring coming into that fight. That overclock makes sure that the incredible grab from Otter doesn't really win the team fight where it really should. You pick off everything and then suddenly your whole team's deleted by Enduring. And I mean, you go with the Death Blossom here, it's going to take out Yikesman surely, and this should be them capping the objective. But the fact that they were able to get some more time in there, what was that? That is very, very unfortunate, and it feels like it was too little too late in the first situation anyway. Key's just going to go into the river, make sure that you can get back. It's going to be a consistent time bank to what the Princess Fighters had on their attacking side going into second. But, I mean, what a glory moment for the Princess Fighters initially. And you've got Key coming back here with the spree, and Sanapen really has to be healed up before getting anywhere near investing that beat. And you're not going to be able to do it in this fight either.
Yeah, and here's the execution coming through. Doesn't even need to be found there as Fedge is taking down Gangster Garner anyway. And Yikesman onto Zeltia. There's a trade onto Key, but that's Shion with 2 movement abilities will be back ever so soon. Can Ricegrain escape? I think Otter might struggle too. No, the Lucio's going to come with the speed and the healing to help them back away. That TP, though, going to be punished by Yikesman. And that's death for Ricegrain, who's going to be staggered out for a few more seconds.
This grab should win them the next fight. We say that. Enduring's coming up on overclock, so maybe not, but we'll see how it goes. Gangster Garner's going to make sure that that's not a problem. 97% on that OC, but you're not going to be able to get it to 100 with Gangster Garner on the other side. Now the grab could come in at any moment, and they look scared here. They're backing off in the 4v5, wanting to play at a numbers equal situation instead of a numbers disadvantage. Yikesman goes in, tries to get aggressive once more, but it means that the rest of the team is left open for Ricegrain. The beat coming in to try and support Gangster Garner with the overclock here, and does get the better of the opposing number. Enduring not able to pull off the miracles from the previous fight, and it feels like we're watching a replay of Princess Fighters' attacking side.
They're just both princesses. I don't know what to say. This is so similar to how the first round played out, the first half. And I think it was great target priority by Otter there to push onto that Sojourn who caused so many problems before. Now coming into this right-hand side room is the Reaper running forward with that bubble. Gets a high charge for Otter once more and backs away in time. So Ricegrain back to safety as Zeltia has that Kitsune rush, but the spree can go right into the middle of that pathway and provide so much damage. So it's relatively even going into these fights. I think it's a more powerful ult, but yeah, here comes that spree. Early doors finds 2. Otter trades it out, but it's great value from the Shion.
It feels like the damage is done immediately. Can you get to that Death Blossom for Ricegrain? I mean, you don't need it if you've got the dual barrels firing on all cylinders. Still 100 charge here for Otter, as it feels like that number has not ticked down since, well, forever. Well, now it's gone. Yikesman able to capitalize off of the spear, take him down, and I mean, building up to that Terror Surge really, really quickly. Yikesman looks at home once again on the Orisa. And it feels like since the ball's been rolling, this is the first team fight that's actually been won by either side on the defensive side.
Yeah, I like the Orisa switch here. I think it's quite unconventional typically into Zarya, but you're expecting to build up to that barrier perk so quick that it really makes that duel much more even as Ricegrain's come forward and be blown up by the spear and then the javelin spin and now the Terror Surge. Oh my goodness, this could be huge, but the Suzu's perfectly timed. The spear comes through either way and Key is going to get 3. And Yikesman finds Otter, who's standing still, just waiting for the Call of Death. That's incredible Shion play from Key, following up from the high damage of Yikesman.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful Suzu, but it's too little too late in the team fight to be able to turn it off the back of that Suzu from Althea. They do have 2 ults coming in, which should be relatively high priority for them to be able to get some advantage out of them. Ricegrain looking to get this Blossom in, and the Kitsune Rush immediately invested. They're trying to go quickly with this. Grav almost built up for Otter as well. 82% could be doing a lot of damage, and Enduring's able to find one. Rice Grain gets it, but Fedge leaves a Death Wish, able to get the chain in, and somehow they're still turning this. Poncheg not investing that Ray this time. Good to make sure that you know the team fight's won and you don't invest anything further. They've got both support ults and a High Noon here against only a Grav and... Well, I mean, it's coming up on a fair few, but 28 seconds left. You've got to do something here if you are the Pwincesses to make sure that you're not going into a 1-to-1 situation.
Yeah, so high charge on Otter here, has the grab available as well, but Yikes Man has looked comfortable on every tank he's played so far. Now on the Orisa putting so much value in. Gangsta Ghana has the Overclock too on the right hand side, but on the other side we have got both support ults. The Sanctuary can be so defensively useful, and the Spree comes through, finds the combination of Yikes Man, but there's the Sanctuary on the right side. They need to touch the cart. They get on the cart in time. 74 meters to go. Here comes that Ray, high damage through, Enduring with the Deadeye and Key onto Zeltia too. That's got to be it. That's got to be map going the way of Princess Fighters, and we're going to 3.
The fighters, they've been scrappy so far. They're able to claw it out just about where it felt like nothing was working for them on their attacking side. Then they're able to go and no moss on that Rolling Stone going through to the second and third objectives. This grab was ridiculous.
This is so funny.
I mean, look at the top right.
Look at this, yeah.
Endurance has taken out your entire team. I mean, what can you say about that? It's ridiculous from both sides to play off the ultimates that they had. Eventually you get into it, and somehow we're going to a map 3, which I don't have an issue with. I don't think the Princess Fighters have an issue with it. I don't even think the Princesses are going to have an issue with it. This looks like a really, really good series so far. I'm so glad that we get the justice of going to 3 instead of seeing only 2 maps from these 2 Princesses teams.
Yeah. This has been a banger. This has been so good. I think Yikes Man is currently sitting at the top with the MVP, but Enduring there. Incredible second map performance. That looking great on the Sojourn, and switches over to the Casca. Said I kill it in the end too. They played that so many of those fights just so much better. I think the Princess Fighters compared to their map 1. It started really when they won that first defensive duel on first point. Their first attacking duel on first point, and it laid them cap with what you said, 18 seconds left. And it was when we saw Yikes Man play with the team and they split the barrier right down the middle, and they could play it kind of like a symmetrical there, akin to the other Vishkar hero, and they played around it so nicely. And then I think there was a Spree later on that had to go it's a Death Blossom later on had to go halfway through an Orisa barrier, just cutting these angles off in such a nice way that allowed so much space for the team to come through. It allowed Enduring to get those angles when you have more to play through, and I think they grouped so nicely. That final fight they played so well. They put the Sanctuary off the right hand side where most of the damage was coming through, and I was stressing about the cart. 74 centimeters to go. They pivot, all 3 of them I think move on to the cart in time, while the Deadeye still sits in that Sanctuary and finds a pick as well. And with that Ray invested too, the damage potential was so high that they just couldn't sustain the Princesses. And I love the way they did that, the Princess Fighters. I think this, you can see why it was their map pick. They struggled at first, but once they got that momentum, got that ball rolling, got that snowball starting to tick, they just looked so clean.
Yeah, and it has felt momentum-based over the first 2 maps. Obviously, push just a momentum-based game mode in general with the way that it works in the current meta and how it's always worked since it's been brought in, but the momentum that we saw on Rialto was next level. Both teams able to get through second with little to no resistance from the other side, and the Princess Fighters took advantage of that. Yes, they were able to let the Princesses through onto third map very, very quickly, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter when they were able to hold what is usually a really good stalwart for the defensive side on this map. It did get very close there with the grab 2 being one of the most horrific ends and getting a draw out of it that I think I would have ever seen in this tournament. But we're going through to a third map now. It's back in the hands of the Pwincesses to be able to take that map pick and that first ban away. And I mean, it feels like whatever you put the tank on, whatever you're feeling, whether it's the Sigma, whether it's that Domina, both of those looks feel like they are more than good enough to be able to play with them. And I was really impressed with Fedge coming in. You know, we've had a couple of jokes about the captain coming in because of how Fedge has been in terms of making sure that this team is their team, but you come in and you play the Mitsuki, and it was a noticeable difference in slowing down the other team instead of playing at their tempo.
Yeah, I think my one concern here one of my concerns here for the Princess Fighters is that despite Yikesman looking so incredible, I think Orisa, Domina, Sigma, they're all very immobile tanks. And what Hallam Pwincesses did really nicely on map number 1 was those counter dives. While those weren't as open here because they were playing more grouped, if Pwincesses can take a map that's a bit more open, allows that speed of play to be more in their favor, I think they play better at a higher pace than the Princess Fighters do. Princess Fighters look really nice in those more brawly environments. They seem to be coordinating really well. I mean, Hallam Pwincesses also looked good in those brawly environments in map number 1, but I think the best thing they did was those counter dives. So I think playing a map where a Sigma struggles a bit more, or a Domino or Orisa struggles a bit more, one that's more encouraging to dive on could be the way forward. But the thing is, right now you can get away with playing a Sigma kind of anywhere if you're playing it right. I think we saw the exposing of the double speed in map number 1 with that Mizuki, as you called out. It works well. They're just the hunker down. It's so difficult to get through when you're playing it well, and it's the one issue I can see for Princess Fighters, but I don't think it's that big of a one.
Yeah, it feels like they've adapted well, and the adaptations that they made were very noticeable on Rialto. Instead of it being, okay, we're coming in and there's real issues that we still have, it feels like they are addressed and they've been doing them really well. Antarctic Peninsula is going to be the final map, so we head over to Control to see who will control the Battle of the Princesses. Will it be the fighters that are able to cleave down Hallam, or will it be the Princesses that turn into queens with the crown from this week? The Mizuki ban feels like it should have been coming. The slowdown that they were able to get off that chain from Fedge was just too much to deal with, and it might force them back into that double speed composition, which I didn't really love. The Diva ban on the other side feels like it's good. Otter looked consistent on the Diva, but I think that means you just put the Winston back in and try and cook as much as possible.
That or the Zarya can play here. I think the Princesses have won the ban war this game so far, the series so far. I think their bans have been slightly better. I think Princess Fighters have had less ideas of what to ban. The Emre was nice that they banned out, but like the other side, the Sojourn still looked good, and the Diva ban here, it feels appropriate. But there's Otter pulling out the Winston that looked so strong in map number 1. Yikes, man, though, trying to prove me wrong here by picking out a Hazard.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of support from the backline now. Instead of going for the speed, it looks like they're going to go for a lot more healing with that Kiriko back in the lineup. Fedge staying in for map 3, and Key switching over to the Tracer, deciding whether to play the Tracer or the Shion. It's a tough pick, I know, but finally deciding on the Shion. Rice Train's going to mirror that on the other side, and Gangsta Ghana back on the Emre could be looking to click heads once more. Rice Train looking to progress onto the high ground for now, but they flip the script, go to the low, take control of the point to start off with, enduring down so low, but able to endure on that low health. Instead, the investment onto Yikes Man is a lot of damage, but they're doing well to make sure that they don't fall too far behind here. Key just about surviving, and I mean, you've had to kite this first fight, but it doesn't feel too bad that you've been doing so. No one's died, and you're able to reinvest here now, as the Iceman does go down low, but the support there is good. You can see Rice Grain causing a lot of havoc, already up to 50% on that spree, whereas Key not really been able to do quite as much, but able to burn down Otter. There's so many players low on Princess Fighters, and they are able to trade out one and another as well, actually coming out from Alzir, so no DPS line for the Princess Fighters. It feels like it should be the Princesses to lose, and it looks like this is the case, and all of this has been happening while they've had control of the objective.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad fight initially for the Princess Fighters, but they did allow that capture to come through early, so up to over a third on this objective now. That's a nice bike from Rice Grain too, gets some extra explosion damage, but you know what the big play here is? It's the Gangsta Ghana Emre. I mean, they can't do anything about it, right? They've already banned it out, and here it comes through, finds a nade pick, gets some good damage. I think finds a second as well. It just looks so clean. And on the other side, they're finding it hard to get in, really. When they get a pick, they have to take so much damage for it. Yikes Man went so low that he couldn't offer any more forward. Here comes that Kitsune Rush, though, from Fedge.
Yeah, it's a really early Kitsune Rush, and they're taking advantage of it not being there on the other side. Rice Grain, though, able to find one onto Enduring with the spree. Otter able to take down Key as well, and even with the help of a Kitsune Rush, it's not enough. Yikes, man. it's aggressive, but I'm worried that they're falling to the cracks of the pressure once again, because really that is a wasted downpour.
This feels exactly the same as Map 1 to me. Yikesman's in the backline doing high damage. The entire team's falling off behind him. But this time he's not getting the picks either. So it's just a collapse there for the Princess fighters as Princesses collapse on them. And the Arista switch, I think, is fine. I think this is good. This is something they're more comfortable with, and I think it could work quite well. I feel like that's a nice spear, first of all, but I feel like the healing is a little bit different without the Mizuki. They're struggling without it, but Enduring grabs Rice Crane early doors, and that's going to enable this fight to continue onwards. Here comes the Override Protocol from Gangsta Ghana, but not landing on anything. That could be a crazy shot, but Honchok just about evades it. And that's huge damage through, but yeah, no picks. They've done a really good job to survive there, and Yikesman's taking down Sanapen, forcing out the Primal Rage of Otter too, and they flipped the objective as well with 98%.
Yeah, and they forced everything out of the Princesses. They tried to get this over the line, but you invest 4 ults, you don't find anything with it. In fact, you lose the objective, you lose the fight. Somehow it's gone in the fighters' favor, and they are looking at coming from the depths of despair back into this first objective. Both DPS ults now pretty much online. Fedge almost coming up to that Kitsune rush once again, and they're going to have to spread these out. They have to hold for a long time here, with it being 98% on the other side. Enduring trying to go in early. Has sees a fade to try and get away, but you're not going to let that happen, are you, Otter? Now in the 4v5, you might have to invest more ults than you want to in this situation. Key has a spree to keep him at bay, but not going to be able to do it on low health. Has to wait to be healed back up. Trying to hold them now at this choke point. Kitsune Rush invested and Spree invested as well. And the Terror Surge, and they don't find any kills off the back of it. Yes, Key's able to find that kill, but 2 come back the other way, and it feels like somehow the teams with the ults are losing these fights. It feels strange. Enduring, Yikesman and Honchog able to take 3 down in quick succession, and Otter knows that it's over, but the kitchen sink and everything else has been invested into this fight. Rice Grain could go huge with the spree, but once again, it's the team with the ultimates. They might not win it.
I think that might be, I mean, they won the fight, but that might be the worst ult usage I've ever seen. They use the spree, and then they Terror Surge, and pull the players away from the spree damage, and then the Suzu wipes out the final burst of the spree, so no picks there, and then Enduring's Death Blossom finds absolutely nothing going. Rice Grain, though, has to be careful, has the big ult to turn this fight around, looks to go invest it, but dies straight away. Their target priority is perfect there from Princess Fighters. Keys brought down Rice Grain early doors, the beat comes through a little bit too late as well from Sanapen, and there's his Althea, though, onto Enduring, so turning the fight with high damage. Auto grabs Fedge as well, and here comes the Kitsune Rush to confirm it, and they are going to flip it around in the end. The Hallam Princesses just about win this one out, because I think, yeah, the Princess Fighters ults weren't good enough in the fight before.
Yeah, and it felt like if you kept a couple of those in the back pocket, maybe you were able to see it across the line. The fact that Azelthia was able to build up to that Kitsune Rush is what really pushed it over the line for the Princesses, coming back into it. It's a lot closer than it feels like it should have been when you're 80% up and you have 4 ults compared to 1 on the other side. Somehow you lose it, and then it goes back to 99 on the other side. Eventually, it doesn't really matter, but it's still worrying size for both teams, and really, the ult investments have been downright bizarre.
I'm still bemused by that. The communication was terrible there, I think, because Yikesman could have Terror Surged him functioning like a Growl there, and the spree just kills all 3, but he's dashed away before the Terrors come through and pulled them away. It just, I don't know, it was a big mess, but I think the positive to take from that is they flipped a fight at 98%, took it all the way to overtime as well, so they looked pretty even here. The Enduring Junkrat is an interesting pick out here. I think maybe just looking for some high burst damage, but the Reaper felt nice, so I'm not sure if it's going to get the value they're looking for here.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it either. It feels like it's a bit too open to be able to do stuff with it, and Gangsta Ghana capitalizing off the damage initially from Rice Grain. It looks like this second verse is starting the same as the first. Quick control to be taken by the Princesses as they look to set up on the point, and Yikesman is just trying to get back to the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, it was functioning a double grenade there with the Rice Grain bike into a Gangsta Ghana explosion, and that was the first 2 picks found. It was really nice work there, combining the DPS damage And I mean, they're sticking on the Junkrat. I guess you haven't really seen what's happened here, but Arista's so low. Yikesman takes a lot of chip from Gangster Ghana, who backs away to safety, gets healed up as well. Both players now in that engagement back up to full. Fedge is a little bit low, so has to play safer. But on the objective, getting contested down now, and that's the first for Rice Crane onto Shion. So wins out that duel on the flank, and Gangster Ghana's taking down Enduring on the other side because that accuracy just pays dividends against the Junkrat mine that can't quite land. And it's going to be fight won by Pwincesses, and a lack of really anything built for the fighters.
Yeah, they've switched over to the Emre, just trying to keep it up on the other side. I guess there's still grenades in there, but not as many as the Junkrat would give you. Yikesman now trying to progress over towards this objective as it ticks over 50%. 50% left for a win for the Pwincesses. They have been tested here, but now just trying to take this high ground is going to be so difficult for Yikesman and the rest of the fighters. Progressing forwards with the use of that fortify, but how much can you do? Those shields don't last long enough for you to be able to progress off the back of them. Yes, you have the Terror Surge and the Kitsune Rush here now. Gangster Ghana trying to get some damage out on the other side, but Otter's able to take down Fedge before that Kitsune Rush can really do too much. And once again, it feels like you're trying to invest these ults to claw back these fights instead of win them in the first place. Yikesman found one, but it feels like it's Colosseo all over again, as Yikesman's the only one to get a pick in this fight, investing the Terror Surge as well. Honchog does have this raid, but it needs to be everything for them, as they have 5 ults on the other side. Surely it doesn't happen again for the Pwincesses.
Yikesman opts to switch to the ball to get caught in time. We've seen them struggle on those mobile tanks, so it has to be a change up here as the raid comes through and the rush on the other side matches that support almost for support almost. Otter's in the backline, has the primal rage available, but finds Honchog without having to invest it. They are looking to flip the fight though. The Rice Grain takes down one. The Brig is going to be blown up by the overall protocol too. There's too much. It's just too much. And this time the ults invested are going to win it out as they have flipped the point. So we're going to have this ball just spin around a little bit longer, but take us to the end, Avalanche. Take us to the end.
It's the first time in this map that I've seen the kitchen sink be dumped and it be worthy. And finally, they are worthy. The Pwincesses have overcome the fighters sent to slay them. Did take them more than they would have wanted as they went up 1-0. Then switched over to 1-1. But at the end of the day, it looks all comfortable on that second point of Antarctic Peninsula. Was a shock to see it flip back so far for the Princess Hunters on, or the Princess Fighters on that first map or first sub map, but at the end of the day, they were able to do enough, were the Pwincesses, to get it over the line and take their rightful place on the crown of the Princess Jewel.
Yeah, the royalty there, preventing the revolution from usurping them off their throne, and it's, I think, a little bit of a sad way to go out there for the Princess Fighters after such a good showing on map 2. I think it felt very akin to Colosseo, the way they were losing some of those fights. It was just Yikesman, surviving towards the end. Manages to trade out the Emre as well, which I think is, I mean, maybe the biggest synecdoche of the entire series as that tank last alive. We're getting raided by USS as we're going to our close soon as well. But I mean, huge credit to the fighters. I think they put up a good fight, right? It looked really strong. Their map pick, you can see why they chose it. You can see the decisions they made, and I think that Mizuki ban was the biggest play there. Fedge looked less comfortable on that Kiriko, and they also just had less tools to deal with the dive from the Winston.
Yeah, and it felt like Otto looked so comfortable on that Winston, especially with the Shion by his side, being able to dive into that backline. It was just too much for them to be able to deal with. And yes, they were able to slow down the execution at the hands of royalty, but eventually you don't get that far without being able to do too much. And at the end of the day, it felt closer than it really was. The weird situations was the fact that, you know, there's so many ults used in fights and somehow the other team's winning. 4 ults into a fight against none on the other side, you should never be losing that fight. You should absolutely never be losing that fight. But somehow it does happen. They're able to come back from it after a little bit of time off of the objective. They come in the last gasp scenario when they need to get it done, and they are able to, because of, quite frankly, the same thing happening on the other side with the fighters, investing 3 ults into a fight that they weren't able to get done. Eventually they're able to find the kills that they needed to keep control of the objective, but investing so many ults into one fight doesn't just affect you for that fight, it affects you for the next 2 to 3 fights to come, and it means that it wasn't there to be able to stall out the objective on that final fight for the boat, making sure that the icebreaker went into the hands of the princesses. And then on the second map, it looked like the fighters never really came out of the blocks. The weird pick of the Junkrat, I think, is going to be a question that stays there for time to come. And even the small case of taking the shield perk, it feels really strange to say, but Orisa is in a better state at the moment, not taking any majors and just living with what you've got from the minor perks. That shield wasn't lasting long enough, and it took away the only mobility that you had for Yikesman to be able to engage onto the backline. Whereas it felt like Otter and the rest of the princesses were able to deal with Fedge and Honchhog a lot better than they were able to on Rialto, making sure that the pressure was onto that backline and making sure that there wasn't an escape route, because when you got out of one sightline, it was into another, and then you had Gangster Garner picking them off from the backline as well. The sniper on the M-Ray was just too much to deal with at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you're right about the shield perk. I think it made sense on defense on Rialto against Azaria. You're playing it as that stalwart tank, and you're trying to hold down a site. You're not letting them get through you, and they're not able to burst through it as fast. And I think that works well. But on a map like Antarctica Peninsula, you're trying to get across that bridge as fast as possible to get to the other side. We saw him passing down onto the objective. So I think it was trying to be a bunker comp, like trying to bunker onto that site, force him to jump onto you, and then that shield kind of works. But when instead of jumping onto you, they're just jumping onto your backline and killing them all and then coming to you at the end, it doesn't quite work out as well. I have a question for you in terms of potential MVPs for this game. I have my man in mind, but I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I'm not sure, because it felt like there's a couple of different players that could be in contention. Like, yeah, you do have what feels like the potential man situation now of Yikesman being able to do so much work on that tank, but it came at the expense of the rest of the team. You can't get carried by one player if you're losing the other 4 while they're battling for you. And I don't know, I feel like the consistency of Otter being able to go through several different play styles, play that Winston, the aggressive dive really well, and when they were winning fights on Rialto, it was because that Reaper was being enabled by Otter on that Zarya, getting the grabs right, and even though, you know, miraculously the fight was won on the other side, that's nothing that Otter can do about that situation, because somehow the rest of the team has died behind you to a really, really good play from Enduring. I feel like Otter really was the stalwart that the Pwincesses needed to be able to build around, and that's the difference between the two teams. It felt like one team you had a tank that was doing really well and you were building around it. The other team, it felt like you had a tank that was doing really well but was the only one that felt like they were in the zone the entire time.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. I think Otter's a wonderful choice there. My personal opinion was leaning towards Gangster Ghana. I think the M-Ray was just genuinely unstoppable at points. I think so much just damage that punished every misposition that the princess fighters found themselves in. They took so much just from a cheeky burst, an extra tap of a headshot, a nice placed grenade. I think really looked good on the M-Ray. Struggled a little bit more on the Sojourn. You can argue that maybe knocks him down a bit, but I think still played well enough. We noted a fight where there was a potential overclock and instantly beamed out by Gangster Ghana's Sojourn. So I think for me probably the best player of the game, but Otter definitely also had an incredible performance. I think there was a lot of good play overall. As LTS Kiriko also looked really nice to me. So I think overall both teams had lots of strong moments, and I'm glad we got this game on stream. I think it was a great choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And a really good game to end up week 2 of USS. Of course, we will be back with you next week with more matches to come. Should be 2 streams as well next week. So thank you to everyone that has joined on both the A stream and the B stream, as we've now got all of you as viewers here. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to give a quick shout out to our behind the scenes team as well, as we've got a lot of new faces that need to be accounted for, as I believe we had Archer Fletcher in on prod, our lead producer as well, Joe Too Cool. Obviously, you've seen me and Sam throughout the broadcast, but lobby adminning and observing KPJ observers as well, Corvid and Yumi, and that is where we are going to bring week 2 to an end. An amazing week on both streams once again. And we can't wait to catch you next week as well for what should be another round of jaw-dropping matches. Don't go anywhere. We will be back next week. We've got Rocket League tomorrow. And of course, we've got Deadlock on Fridays as always. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with you soon.